Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be taking a look at a Magmortar Absol deck from the 2008 format. This is a concept that I took from Alex Brosseau. He played this at a regional championships in 2008, and I had some insanely good games with him playing Gardevoir against this deck. The list itself is very reminiscent of, I would say, it has a very blissy feel to it, but it plays differently. So let's go ahead. The main strategy of the deck, we are all in on this Magmortar concept. We're going to be using Absol to Bayful Wind to not only try to limit our opponent's options, ideally stop them from ever setting up, but we're also going to try to goat them a little bit into taking that first prize so we stop discarding cards from their hand. Once we do that, that's going to activate our Scramble energies down here and allow Magmortar's Fire Blast to hit for insane amounts of damage. Now, Magmortar in itself is just a very strong Pokemon. There's nothing, I wouldn't say there's nothing broken about it, but in general, it's just very strong. 110 HP on a stage 1. That Fire Blast attack does 20 damage times the number of fire energy attached to Magmortar. It's very easy to get insanely good damage numbers off of this, especially if you have an active Scramble energy. And then that Fire Bazooka does 40 and then 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This can soften some things up if you don't necessarily have the damage to just try to run through them with Fire Blast. And then, of course, it also gives you access to the level X. Not only do you get a little bit of a boost in hit points there, you have that Torrid Wave ability, and most importantly, that Flame Bluster attack. To discard 2 fire energy, you can meet that by discarding a single Scramble energy, and you can do 100 damage to anything in play. This is especially important in the 2008 format when there wasn't a ton of ways to hit the bench for good damage. Yes, there is some ways to hit the bench, such as Empoleon, for example, but this is just another insane option the deck has available to it. Now, the one thing I'm going to say here, and I know a very common question I'm going to get, is don't you take a auto loss to Empoleon? And most likely you do. You are going to take some games off of Empoleon where you're able to stop them from setting up and then just run through them with a Magmortar while they're kind of stuck with some basics. At the same time, though, I'm going to make the argument back that playing some sort of some sort of hybrid like a Leafeon Magmortar deck, for example, a 2-2-1 Leafeon is not going to win you the Empoleon matchup either. It would probably be better, but I would say both those decks are going to lose the Empoleon matchup. So let's just go ahead here, jump into the deck. We go ahead, we play 4 Absol. This gives us a really strong opener for the deck. And then once again, that Bayful Wind attack. Not only, we're going to be trying to just discard our opponent's hand, get rid of any supporters, stop them from setting up. But at the same time, too, we also really like to try to discard some key cards that might hurt them later on in the game. Things such maybe like Windstorms or Night Maintenance, Celio's Network, or even key cards like, let's say, a Gardevoir or Scramble Energy are all going to be great discards off Bayful Wind. We play a 4-3-1 Magmortar. Magmortar is actually not bad of an opener either. Single fire energy, 20 damage, put that early pressure on the opponent. 70 HP is also very strong. But, of course, we play this for the Magmortar. That body, attach fire energy to heal 2 damage counters can actually be pretty impactful in this format. There is definitely some high damage attacks with things like Glade Psychic Cut or Empoleon Surf together. But in general, 2008 settles largely for 2-hit knockouts, and having that flame body can, in certain situations, change a 2-hit knockout into even a 3-hit knockout, which can create some very good math for you. Flame Blast, it's very easy to hit very good numbers with that, especially when you start taking in Scramble, for example. Then, of course, that Fireball Bazooka, 40 damage, and then you have the ability to spread 20. Something that I saw Alex do with the deck that worked very well is he would use Absol to get the opponent to take the first prize, send up Magmortar Scramble, and then at that point he could make a couple of different decisions. He could either try to Flame Blast to deal with whatever threat was in front of him, or he would just use the first Magmortar to use Fireball Bazooka to hit for 40, start spreading the things on the bench that he knew were going to become a problem later on in the game, and let his opponent knock out the first Magmortar. At that point, he could bring up a second Magmortar with another Scramble Energy, and pretty safely take his first prize with Flame Blast, knowing that his Scramble Energies are going to stay active. He had a lot of control when he played the deck to make sure he chose very carefully when the opponent was allowed to have Scramble and when he was allowed to have Scramble. And a lot of that was based on just really smart playing with Fireball Bazooka. Magmortar X, a couple of different things like we already noted. You get a little bit boost in the HP. The Torrid Wave seems very useful, but we play 4 Cessation Crystals, so you're not always going to be able to get that off. In a lot of situations, having a Cessation Crystal under Magmortar is going to be more important than having that Torrid Wave. But there's certainly going to be some matchups where that Torrid Wave could be very impactful. With the 50-50 chance at putting 3 damage counters on a Pokemon between turns can be huge. Flame Bluster, once again, this can be so impactful with Scramble Energy. It's nice to hit things on the bench. Maybe a threat your opponent's trying to build up, especially if we're doing a good job of limiting their options with Absol. It's very easy to maybe Flame Bluster the only threat they have available to them. One Chatot in the deck. That is to, in a pinch, get us a new hand. And also, if there's a situation where we can afford to give up that Chatot prize, especially if it's a situation where we know it's going to make our Scramble Energies active again. The one thing I want to point out is we play a total of 9 basics, so very rarely are we going to mulligan. And on top of that, every single one of our basics is a good basic. There's nothing in this deck you hate to open with. Obviously, I would say Absol is the best. But if you open Chatot, you got that Fruit Treat. And then if you got Magmar, you have a good shot at putting some early pressure on your opponent with hopefully like a turn 2 Magmortar, for example. Now, the deck, we play a Castaway Engine. We play 4 copies of Castaway, 4 Celios Network. Make sure we're able to search out the Magmortars, Magmortar X, 4 Roseannes. This is to ideally get that turn 1, turn 2 Magmar in play. But also, the deck does not want to miss energy drops. So not only do we play a very high energy count, we want to be able to use those Roseanne's Research to search them out. 3 Steven's Advice. A lot of the times, depending on the situation, opponents will bench things so they don't get discarded to Absol. So when your opponent's playing against an Absol, it's very common for you. It's very common for you playing Absol for your opponent to have a very large bench. It's very easy to get some good Steven's Advices off. 1 BB Search, comboing with those 4 Sealers. We're going to have 5 search cards. I do play a single copy of Copycat on the deck. It's absolutely awesome, and we really want to aim at stopping our opponent from having options and just discarding their whole hand with Baleful Wind and getting a Cessation Crystal to stick. That's not going to happen every single game, every single situation, so we do have that 1 Copycat. Not only does that give us another draw supporter in the deck, but it's something we can search off Castaway if we need to. For energy removal too, we want to try to limit our opponent's options as we're going aggressive with them. We really just want to try to overwhelm the opponent and slow them down as much as possible. 4 Cessation Crystals, 3 Pokédex. I don't love Pokédex. I don't hate Pokédex in the deck. It's an okay card. For a normal trainer card, it helps us burn through the deck. It's solid. I play 1 copy of Night Maintenance, 1 Premier Ball, and then 1 Time Space Distortion. I think you can make some arguments on this, but essentially, playing that extra copy of Magmar versus the Magmortar or the Magmortar X does give the deck a little bit of leniency to not have to play a double Night Maintenance. So I am testing the Time Space Distortion right now, and so far I'm liking it. Premier Ball, we want to be able to search out that level X. We want to either be able to use it aggressively to grab it from the deck or reactively to grab it out of the discard pile. But we want to have that level X as often as possible because that bonus HP is going to make a pretty big difference to us. And then energy, 12 fire, 4 scramble energy. We've got to make sure we're playing the high fire count. And then scramble energy. I'm going to say it's unfortunate when you play against Crystal Beach decks because you don't play Counter Stadium. I don't think it's worth it for the deck to play 4 Cessation Crystal and then try to play 2 or 3 Windstorm on top of it. And then on the opposite side of it, there's really not a good stadium for the deck to play. I would love if a Full Flame or something was still legal, but unfortunately, that's just not the case. So there's going to be matchups where if they play down beach, you're just going to be out of luck with those scramble energies, but they can still be used to power that fireball bazooka, meeting that colorless energy requirement. And even in those situations, we still do have 12 fire and then a night maintenance if we do need to send 3 fire back into the deck. But that's going to go ahead, wrap up the Absol Magmortar deck from the 2008 format. It's a very strong, very straightforward, very fast deck to play. If you're somebody that is maybe new to the 2008 format and you want a deck that's pretty easy to pick up but still is going to do well against the field, I really recommend giving this a try. It's a very, very simple deck, but it can be incredibly powerful. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.